Daddy said it wouldn't hurt, so why was her body covered in bruises? The Langford mansion sparkled like a dream, but behind a locked basement door, a little girl whispered 5 words that would change everything. Daddy said it won't hurt. When the maid finally discovered the truth he hid, her hands trembled as she called 911, because this time, staying silent could have cost a child her life. The sun was melting into the skyline when Maya Brooks stepped onto the polished white marble of the Langford mansion. The windows rose so high they seemed to touch the fading sky, catching the last orange light of the evening. Everything inside shimmered, the kind of shimmer Maya had only seen in magazines and the windows of places she once walked past but never entered. For 6 months she had worked here, dusting crystal shelves and polishing floors that reflected her face like a mirror. But today, something in the air felt colder than the marble beneath her shoes. She found Lily Langford sitting at the long kitchen island, where she usually doodled in her notebook. The child's curls framed her small face, but the spark that used to make them bounce with her laughter had dimmed. A few weeks earlier, Lily's giggles had floated through the hallways like warm air from a summer window. Now she sat silent, her little fingers tracing the edge of her sweater, as if trying to disappear inside it. "Hey, sweet pea," Maya said softly, trying a smile. "You okay today?" Lily nodded, but her eyes didn't lift. They stared into a space far too dark for an 8-year-old to know. When Maya reached out to brush a stray curl from her face, the child flinched. Not a big motion, just a quick, frightened twitch, like she expected a hand coming at her, not toward her. Maya froze. That wasn't the Lily she'd met on her first day, the Lily who'd asked 100 questions, who'd wanted to braid Maya's hair, who'd said Maya reminded her of warm cocoa, because you make me feel warm inside. Something had been draining that little warmth from her, piece by piece. She tried to convince herself it was nothing. Maybe Lily was tired. Maybe school had been rough. Maybe the whole house just felt too big and too quiet, with Rebecca Langford gone on another business trip. The mansion always seemed to hold its breath when the lady of the house wasn't home. But as evening settled over Beverly Grove, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was shifting behind the mansion's glowing chandeliers and perfect glass walls. Every step she took echoed too sharply. Every shadow felt stretched longer than it should be. And every time Lily heard footsteps upstairs, heavy, slow, her shoulders tightened. Long after dinner, Maya carried a basket of folded towels down the hallway, humming softly the way she used to calm her younger cousins. She paused at the top of the staircase, listening. The house was still, too still, the kind of stillness that made her skin prickle, like the air before a storm. She made her way toward the guest wing, the click of her shoes muffled by thick carpet. As she passed the door leading to the lower level, a door always locked, always off limits, she thought she heard something. Faint, muffled, a sound so small it barely existed. She stood completely still, breath held, straining to listen. There it was, again. A soft, broken sound, like a whimper, like someone afraid to be heard. Maya placed the basket on the floor, her hands suddenly shaky. The door to the basement was closed, but she could see a thin sliver of darkness at the bottom, where the light from the hallway slid underneath. Beyond that crack, something moved. Not loud, not clear, but enough to twist her stomach with dread. Her heart began to pound. She stepped closer, slowly, as if the air itself might shatter around her. "Is someone down there?" she whispered. Silence. She leaned in, pressing her ear to the wood. At first she heard nothing. Then another sound. A tiny, aching little moan. A sound that didn't belong in a house like this. A sound that didn't belong anywhere near a child. Maya's throat tightened. Someone, or something, was hurting. Inside the most beautiful mansion she'd ever seen, hidden behind gold frames and shining floors, the truth was trying to claw its way out. Through that sound, through that door, through the quiet fear in Lily's eyes. And Maya knew, deep down, that her life in this house was about to change. She reached for the doorknob. It didn't turn. It was locked. From the inside. Then came that tiny, trembling whimper again. Soft, but unmistakable. Maya stepped back, her hand shaking. Whatever was happening behind that door, she wasn't supposed to know. But now she did, and she couldn't unhear it. The sound stayed with Maya long after she stepped away from the locked basement door. Even as she forced herself to return to the laundry room, even as she folded towels with trembling hands, she kept glancing toward the hallway, as if the shadows themselves might whisper again. She barely slept that night in the small guest room the Langfords allowed her to use between long shifts. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lily's face, quiet, pale, too old for 8 years, and that soft little whimper drifting up from the dark. By morning, the sky over Beverly Grove was washed with a gray haze. The mansion's security lights flicked off one by one as sunlight seeped through the palm trees lining the driveway. Maya tied her apron, took a breath, and stepped into the kitchen, where the stainless steel appliances gleamed like mirrors. She expected to hear the usual sound of Lily humming along to the small radio on the counter. But the kitchen was silent. Lily sat at the island again, legs dangling from the tall bar stool, staring down at her cereal. The spoon in her hand didn't move. Her curls hung loose today, hiding half her little face. And her notebook, the one she used to carry everywhere, was nowhere in sight. "Good morning, sweet pea," Maya said gently as she walked in. She kept her tone light, the way you'd speak to skittish birds. "You hungry?" No answer. Lily didn't even look up. Maya moved closer, pretending to wipe the counter just to be near her. The child's shoulders rose and fell in tiny shaky breaths. Her fingers kept rubbing a spot on her sleeve, twisting the fabric over the same place again and again, as if she were trying to rub away invisible pain. "Did you sleep okay?" Maya asked. Lily shook her head once. Barely. "Nightmares?" No response. Instead, Lily stiffened and glanced toward the front of the house when a car door slammed outside. A moment later, Maya heard it too, the deep, confident rumble of a luxury sedan pulling up the driveway. Gavin Langford's silver Mercedes. The girl's spoon slipped from her hand and clattered onto the counter. Her whole body jumped at the sound. Maya's heart squeezed in her chest. "It's all right," she whispered, placing a steadying hand near, but not on, Lily's arm. "You're safe right now. You're with me." But Lily's gaze stayed fixed on the hallway where Gavin would soon appear. She slid off the stool, nearly stumbling in her hurry, and backed into the corner like she needed a wall behind her to breathe. The silence in her eyes wasn't normal childhood fear. It was something colder, something carved from weeks or months of dread. The front door opened. "Morning!" Gavin's voice boomed through the hall, polished, charismatic. The kind of voice that could charm a boardroom or terrify a child. Maya swallowed hard. Lily pressed herself deeper into the corner, hugging her, small elbows. Her lips formed a whisper so soft, Maya almost missed it. "Please don't make him mad." Maya felt her throat tighten. The child's voice, once bright as summer, now sounded like the faint flicker of a candle, one breath away from going out. Gavin strode into the kitchen, suit crisp, hair perfectly combed as always. "Where's Rebecca?" he said, glancing around. "Did she call?" "She mentioned a flight delay last night," Maya answered, keeping her tone neutral. He barely nodded before turning his attention to Lily. "There you are." The girl's shoulders trembled. "You're late," Gavin said. Lily didn't speak. Did you finish the chores I assigned yesterday? He asked. His tone was calm, too calm, artificially smooth, the kind of control that hid something sharp underneath. Lily shook her head without lifting her eyes. Gavin exhaled sharply through his nose. We talked about this. You have to toughen up. You can't stay weak forever. The words slid through Maya like a blade. Weak. She'd heard that word all her life. Teachers who thought she wouldn't keep up. Neighbors who thought kids from South LA should know their place. People who smiled too wide but kept their distance, as if kindness from someone like her was somehow suspicious. And now here it was, being carved into the heart of an 8-year-old little girl with curls and big brown eyes, and a voice too soft to fight for herself. Sir, Maya said quietly, unable to hold it in. She's just a child. Gavin turned his head slowly toward her, his expression tightening with irritation, as if a fly had dared land on his tablecloth. Did I ask for your opinion, Maya? Her breath caught. His tone wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. It carried years of entitlement, the kind that crushed everything beneath it. Lily's eyes filled with tears she tried desperately to hide. Maya bent down beside her, wiping the countertop absently, just to shield the child. Hey, she whispered, why don't you go get your shoes? I'll help you with your hair before school. Lily hesitated, looking between Maya and her father. Gavin waved a hand dismissively, but there was something in his gesture, impatience, annoyance, ownership, that made Maya's stomach twist. The girl walked away quickly, almost running down the hallway, and that's when Maya saw it. For just a second, as Lily's sweater shifted while she turned the corner, Maya glimpsed a dark mark beneath the fabric, right along the shoulder blade. A bruise, deep-colored, fading at the edges, but unmistakable. Her heart stopped, not just because of what she saw, but because she realized Lily had tried to hide it. The radio stayed silent. The kitchen lights hummed overhead. Gavin poured himself a cup of coffee like nothing in the world was wrong. But something was wrong. Something terrible. Something that had been happening long before. Maya began hearing soft whimpers through locked basement doors. And when she picked up the fallen spoon, her hand trembling, she knew she wouldn't be able to look away any longer. Not after seeing that bruise. Not after hearing Lily whisper. Not after last night's sound from the basement. Something was happening in the Langford mansion, and Maya had just stepped closer to the truth, closer than anyone wanted her to be. Especially the man walking back into the hallway, calling out, Lily, we're not done talking. Maya's breath froze in her chest. The child didn't answer. Silence washed through the hallway like a cold tide, the kind that makes every instinct inside you stand upright. Maya stepped out from behind the kitchen counter, peering down the long corridor where Lily had vanished moments before. The mansion, with all its golden fixtures and soft lighting, suddenly felt cavernous. Too many corners, too many shadows, too many places for fear to hide. She took a cautious step forward, her shoes sinking into the thick carpet. From somewhere deep in the hallway, she heard Gavin call again, sharper this time. Lily! Still no answer. Maya tightened her grip on the dish towel in her hand. She wasn't supposed to get involved. Not with the Langfords, not with their personal business, but the memory of that bruise pulsed in her mind like a heartbeat. She moved toward the hallway quietly, keeping close to the wall, listening for any sound that might tell her what was happening. The house's high ceilings made every breath echo. A light fixture flickered overhead, its crystal edging casting jagged patterns of light across the walls. Maya reached the corner and peeked around. Lily wasn't there. Instead, Gavin stood with his phone pressed to his ear, pacing in front of his home office. His voice was low, irritated, clipped at the edges. I told you, the board meeting can wait. Rebecca's out of town again, and I've got to deal with responsibilities here. Responsibilities. The word made Maya's stomach turn. He paused, stopping mid-stride. No, she's not making progress. She's still soft, still too emotional, and that's not acceptable. Maya swallowed hard. Her fingertips tingled. The ache in her chest grew heavier with every word he spoke. She leaned back against the wall, trying to breathe quietly. You don't understand, Gavin continued. If she's going to stay here, she needs to learn discipline. My father didn't raise me to tolerate weakness in my own house. Weakness again. That same sharp edge in his voice. Maya's mind drifted back to her childhood. The apartment on Avalon Boulevard, the peeling paint on the stair rails, the way neighbors whispered about kids from the South Side. How many times had she heard that same word tossed at her like an insult? Weak. Lazy. Not enough. The world loved to tell people like her what she couldn't be. Now she was hearing that word sink its claws into a little girl who should have been drawing butterflies, not shrinking into corners. When Gavin ended the call, he didn't move for a moment. His hand stayed on his phone as though he was still gripping something much heavier. Then he slipped the device into his pocket and walked toward the stairs. Maya held her breath again. She didn't want him to see her. She didn't want him to know she'd heard. He passed by without noticing, his expression severe, his jaw clenched tightly. He walked up the staircase with heavy steps, the kind that thudded with a sense of purpose Maya had learned not to trust. When the footsteps faded upstairs, she exhaled shakily and stepped forward. "Lily?" she whispered. "Honey, where are you?" She checked the living room. Empty. The study. Empty. The sunroom. Only ghostly morning light pooling on the tile. Finally, she pushed open the door to the guest bedroom, the one Lily sometimes used to read in. A small figure sat on the floor between the bed and the wall, tucked into the narrow space like she wanted to disappear. "Sweet pea," Maya said softly, kneeling down across from her. "I've been looking everywhere." Lily wiped her nose on her sleeve. Her curls fell across her face, hiding her expression. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what?" Maya asked. "For dropping the spoon. For making noise. Daddy doesn't like noise in the morning." Maya's throat tightened. She felt heat rising behind her eyes, but she fought it back. Lily didn't need her tears. She needed her steady. "You didn't do anything wrong," Maya said gently. "Not a thing." Lily didn't answer. Instead, she rubbed the same spot on her arm again, the exact place Maya had seen a bruise earlier. "Can I see?" Maya asked quietly. "Your arm?" Lily hesitated. "It's okay," Maya added. "You're safe with me." The little girl lifted her sleeve just a few inches. Not enough to reveal everything, but enough. Under the soft cotton, faint discoloration traced her upper arm, shadows of old bruises fading into new ones. Maya inhaled sharply, though she tried to make it sound like nothing at all. "Does it hurt?" she asked softly. "A little." "Did you fall?" Lily shook her head. "Did someone hurt you?" Her eyes widened, and she dropped the sleeve quickly, shaking her head more urgently now. "I can't tell," Lily whispered. "Daddy said I'm not supposed to." Maya felt a chill crawl down her arms. "What did he say?" she pressed, her voice no more than a breath. Lily's lips parted, her voice so small Maya had to lean in close. "He said I'm supposed to be strong. He said crying makes me weak. He said I have to earn my place here." The words hit Maya like a slow, crushing weight. Earn my place. At 8 years old. "That's not true," Maya murmured. "You don't have to earn anything. You belong. You deserve to be loved just the way you are." Lily blinked hard, tears spilling despite her efforts to hold them back. She whispered, Daddy says if I talk, I'll get in trouble. Maya shook her head. You won't get in trouble with me. But Lily didn't look convinced. Fear had already dug its roots too deep. Outside, thunder rumbled across the sky. The morning was turning dark, heavy clouds swallowing the sunlight. A storm was rolling in, fitting for the storm that seemed to be brewing inside this home. Maya reached for Lily's hand. Come on, let's brush your hair before school, okay? Lily nodded weakly. When they stepped into the hallway, Gavin's voice drifted from upstairs again, short, cutting, impatient. Lily, we're leaving in 5 minutes! The child flinched at the sound. Maya's heart cracked a little more. She knelt beside Lily, brushing a curl from her face. You're not weak, she whispered. You hear me? You're not weak. Lily nodded slightly, though her eyes didn't hold belief, only hope that someday, maybe, someone would actually mean those words. As Maya guided her down the hall, thunder boomed louder outside, shaking the window panes. But it wasn't the storm that made Maya stop in her tracks. It was the sight of the basement door, its lock gleaming under the hallway light, and the memory of that late-night whimper rising straight through it. She couldn't unhear that sound. Not now, not ever. What was happening in this house wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a child being clumsy or dramatic. It was something darker. And Maya had just stepped directly into the center of it. Clutching Lily's small hand, she realized there were things in this house that were never meant to be said, never meant to be heard, but the truth was already reaching for her. And it wasn't letting go. The storm outside rolled over Beverly Grove like a slow, angry wave, shaking the glass walls of the Langford mansion. By the time Maya finished helping Lily gather her backpack and jacket, rain was splattering against the windows in heavy sheets. The house felt dimmer than usual, as if the storm had seeped inside and settled in the corners. Gavin's voice echoed down the staircase. Lily, are you ready yet? The little girl stiffened instantly, her fingers gripping Maya's hand. She nodded, but the nod was small, almost invisible, like she wasn't sure whether she had permission to claim readiness. It's okay, Maya whispered. Take your time. But Lily didn't. She never did. She hurried toward the front door, moving with the haste of a child who had learned that slowness cost her something. As soon as Lily stepped outside with Gavin, Maya stayed just inside the doorway, watching. The driveway glistened like a mirror, water rippling across it. Gavin didn't open the car door for his daughter. He didn't even look at her. He walked ahead, shoulders stiff, as though Lily were merely another item on his schedule. Lily slipped into the back seat alone. The door shut with a heavy thud. Then they were gone. The house, once bustling with morning noise, went still. The quiet made Maya uneasy. She walked back inside, the door closing behind her with a soft click. The living room lights flickered slightly, reacting to the storm. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the staircase, then at the hallway, then at the basement door. The same basement door she'd passed 100 times. The same basement door she'd heard the whimper through. The same basement door Lily had been near when the bruise on her arm was fresh. A soft rumble of thunder rolled overhead. Maya's pulse quickened. She approached the door slowly, her reflection warping in the polished wood. Her fingers brushed the cold metal lock. It was new, not the kind of lock a family used for storage or old Christmas decorations. This lock meant something was being kept out, or something was being kept in. Or someone. The thought made her throat tighten. She crouched slightly, pressing her ear gently to the wood. At first, there was nothing, just the muffled hum of the storm. Then, after several seconds, she heard it. A faint sound. So faint she wasn't sure she hadn't imagined it. A small shift of movement. A soft scrape. Then, silence. Her heart hammered once, then again. She pulled back, stepping away from the door as if it had come alive. "No," she whispered to herself. "Not today, Maya. Don't start making up ghosts." But this didn't feel like ghosts. This felt like truth. And truth didn't whisper without reason. She walked into the kitchen, trying to distract herself. Plates from breakfast still waited in the sink. Toast crumbs still clung to the marble counter. The house felt wrong. Beautiful, perfectly decorated, but wrong all the way down to the bones. She turned on the faucet, rinsing cups, letting the sound of running water drown out her thoughts. It worked for a few minutes, until the thunder crashed so loudly it rattled the windows. The sudden noise made Maya's hand jerk. The cup slipped from her fingers, falling into the sink with a sharp clatter. She froze, because she wasn't just hearing thunder now. She was hearing crying, soft, muffled, coming from somewhere below her feet. Her blood turned to ice. She shut off the faucet, listening again. There it was. Clearer this time. Broken, fragile, like someone trying not to be heard. A child's cry. "Maya!" Her name came from inside her own head, a memory resurfacing. Her own crying at 8 years old, hiding behind the laundry machines because kids at school had laughed at her shoes, the soles peeling off like wilted petals. Her mother had found her and held her and told her she didn't need to earn a place anywhere. She already belonged. But Lily didn't have someone holding her like that. Not here. Not now. Maya wiped her hands and stepped back into the hallway, heart pounding in her ears. She stood at the top of the basement stairs, staring at the door as though it were breathing. She reached for the doorknob. It didn't turn. Locked. Of course it was locked. Still, she tugged at it again, harder this time, hoping for some miracle. Nothing. The door didn't budge. She pressed her forehead lightly against the wood. "Who's down there?" she whispered. No answer. Just the distant sound of rain tapping against the house like 1,000 impatient fingers. She backed away slowly. There were rules in this house. Rules about where she could go. Rules about what she could ask. But she'd already heard too much to pretend anymore. She needed answers. Not guesses. Not fears. Not the shadows her mind was stitching into monsters. Real answers. She grabbed her phone and checked the time. The delivery service was scheduled to arrive soon. Gavin had a package coming. Maya was supposed to accept it. He trusted her with that much, at least. A plan formed in her mind, one she didn't fully trust, but couldn't stop building. When the delivery driver knocked, she opened the door. They exchanged the usual small talk. Then he handed off a medium-sized box sealed in thick tape. She thanked him and carried it inside. It was heavier than she expected. Too heavy for what the label claimed. Office supplies. Maya frowned. Office supplies didn't come in boxes that felt like they had bricks inside. The moment she set the box down, her gaze drifted back to the basement. Her breath caught. Because for the first time since Gavin had left with Lily, the lock wasn't aligned with the frame anymore. The door was slightly ajar, only by an inch. But an inch was enough. Maya didn't move for a whole 10 seconds. She just stared. The storm outside growled deeply, shaking the house again, but she didn't flinch. The basement wasn't supposed to open on its own. Locks didn't slip by accident, not on reinforced doors. Something, or someone, had moved it. Very carefully, the way someone might push a curtain aside just enough to peek through. Maya took a step forward. Her heart thudded like a drum in her throat. "Hello?" she whispered, voice trembling. No reply, only the whisper of the storm. She lifted her hand, fingers inches from the door. The moment she touched it, a soft creak echoed up the stairwell, slow and aching. Maya's breath hitched. She pushed the door open. Darkness waited below, thick, heavy, absolute. A cold draft rose up from the basement like a warning. She reached her arm along the wall until her fingers brushed the light switch. She flipped it. Nothing happened. Broken. Or turned off. She swallowed the knot in her throat. Maya. Her name again, but only in her own mind. This time it was not from childhood, but from the voice she'd heard when Lily whispered that terrible sentence the night before. Daddy said, I'm not really his, so I have to earn my place. A shiver ran through her. This basement wasn't a place to earn anything. It was a place to hide something. She stepped back from the door, her pulse unsteady. Whatever was down there, she wasn't ready to face it alone. Not yet. Not without Lily. Not without someone who would believe her. She closed the door gently, but before it latched, a sound drifted upward, barely audible, a whisper, a child's whisper. I'm scared. Maya staggered back, hand flying to her mouth. That wasn't Lily's voice. Someone else was down there. And now Maya knew, with a certainty that carved itself into her bones, that whatever was happening in the Langford house was far bigger, far darker than any bruise on Lily's arm. Something was waiting in that basement, something that wasn't supposed to be found, and Maya had just heard it breathe. The moment hung in the hallway like a held breath. Stormlight flashed through the tall windows, throwing jagged shadows against the walls. Maya closed the basement door slowly, her fingers trembling so hard she barely felt the knob. Every instinct in her body screamed to run, to call someone, to get out of this house. But she didn't move. She couldn't. Not while Lily was somewhere out there in the world with the man who locked children in basements and called it teaching strength. Her heart was still pounding when the front door swung open with a force that made the chandelier sway. Rain gusted in. Gavin Langford stepped inside, wiping water from his suit jacket. Irritation etched deep into his jawline. His cologne rode the air like a cold warning. Maya stiffened. He wasn't supposed to be home yet, and she wasn't supposed to look as shaken as she did. Gavin dropped his keys onto the marble console with a metallic clatter, then turned, his gaze landing on her with the precision of a blade. What happened to you? He asked, voice low but edged like steel. You look like you saw a ghost. Maya swallowed hard. Just the storm. It startled me. Gavin's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer, each footfall soft but heavy, like someone who expected floors to part for him. The storm, he repeated, tasting the word as if testing it for honesty. His attention drifted past her, toward the basement door. Maya moved instinctively, positioning herself between him and the hallway behind her. Gavin noticed, and he smiled, a thin, sharp smile. Relax, Maya. No one's breaking in through the basement. He brushed past her, unbothered, heading toward the kitchen. Did the delivery arrive? Yes, she said quickly. It's in the foyer. He paused mid-step. You opened it? No. Something in his posture eased, but only a little. Good, he said. Next time, don't even bring it inside. Just leave it by the door. Some things aren't for you to touch. His tone implied a warning more than an instruction. Maya forced a nod. The storm groaned outside, thunder rolling over the hills like a slow drumbeat. She followed him into the kitchen. The lights glowed warm against the rain-streaked windows, but the air between them felt cold and brittle. Gavin removed his soaked jacket and tossed it onto a chair. Lily should be upstairs, he said, unless she's hiding again. Again. The word cut into Maya like a small, cruel blade. Hiding from what? She asked softly. Gavin froze with his back to her. For a long moment he didn't answer. Finally he turned, leaning against the counter with the ease of a man who owned every inch of the home he stood in. Children hide when they're weak, he said. And Lily is prone to it. I'm fixing that. A tremor of anger rose, inside Maya, breaking past the fear that had been choking her. She's 8, Gavin, Maya said carefully. She's a child, not a... She's my responsibility, he snapped, cutting her off. Not yours. Silence crackled like electricity between them. Maya steadied herself. She's scared. Gavin tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing with calculated precision. Scared? He echoed. Or dramatic? Maya's jaw tightened. Did she say something to you? Gavin stepped closer. Because Lily tends to exaggerate. She wants attention. She likes playing the victim. That's not true, Maya said, voice trembling with controlled fire. She flinches when you walk into the room. Gavin's expression darkened. You're overstepping. Someone whispered from the basement, Maya said before she could stop herself. Her voice thinned. It wasn't Lily. The room went dead quiet. For a moment, even the storm outside seemed to pause. Gavin stepped toward her slowly, deliberately, until the massive kitchen felt too small to contain the weight of him. His face was inches from hers, his voice barely above a whisper. You think you heard something, he said. In my house? Maya didn't move. You think you know more than me? That your little instincts are worth anything here? Her breath shuddered in her chest. I'm telling you something is wrong, she whispered. And I'm telling you to do your job. He took one more step, his shadow swallowing the warm kitchen light. You're here because I hired you, he continued, voice smooth with venom. Not because you're family, not because your opinions mean anything. I pay you well. I give you a place to stay. All I ask is silence. The word echoed off the marble. Silence. It was a word Maya knew well. The world had fed it to her since she was a child. When kids mocked her clothes, when teachers told her she'd never be more than average, when managers passed her over for promotions and said, "You're such a hard worker, but not the right fit." Silence had followed her like a long shadow. But she was not 8 years old anymore, crying behind a laundromat machine. She was grown, strong, and Lily needed someone who wasn't afraid to speak. Her voice steadied. I won't be silent, Maya said. For the first time, Gavin's confident expression cracked, just slightly. You don't want to test me, he said. Not in this house, not in this city. People like you. He stopped, but he didn't have to finish. People like you. She'd heard those words before. Maya lifted her chin. People like me are the ones protecting your daughter. Gavin's eyes flashed. He stepped so close she felt the chill radiating off him. You say one more word, he whispered, and I will ruin your life. Thunder shook the house so violently the light above them flickered. The threat hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. Maya didn't look away. Not this time. Not ever again. Gavin's eyes narrowed to slits. Then he brushed past her, blowing out a frustrated breath as he left the kitchen. But Maya stood frozen, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Her hand drifted to her apron pocket. She felt the outline of her phone. Gavin's threat echoed again. I will ruin your life. But she thought of Lily, of the bruises, the flinches, the whisper from the basement, the child saying she wasn't really his. And Maya knew this was no longer about a job. This was about a life. She closed her fingers around the phone. The storm raged outside, and for the first time, Maya wasn't scared of the thunder. She was scared of what would happen if she did nothing. The storm hammered against the glass walls of the Langford mansion, each burst of wind rattling the windows like a warning from the sky itself. The house, usually so silent, so polished, felt restless tonight. Shadows stretched long across the floors. Hallway lights blinked with every thunderclap. Even the air tasted different, heavier, like it was carrying something it could no longer hold in. Maya stood alone in the kitchen, her hand trembling around the phone in her apron pocket. Her heartbeat thudded so loudly she could feel it pulse in her fingertips. Call, or stay silent. Both choices held consequences. She swallowed hard and forced herself to breathe. Gavin's voice still rang inside her skull. The threat, the arrogance, the quiet certainty that the world belonged to him and people like her should stay small, stay quiet. But she couldn't. Not now. Not after everything she'd seen and heard. A soft sound broke the tension. A tiny sniffle, coming from behind the kitchen island. Maya's breath caught. "Lily?" she whispered. The little girl stepped out from behind the granite counter, hugging her stuffed bear so tightly the seams strained at the edges. Her dark curls were damp with tears, sticking to her cheeks. She didn't speak. She just looked up at Maya with wide, frightened eyes, eyes that begged without words. Maya knelt down gently. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here? You should be in bed." Lily shook her head. "Daddy's mad," she whispered. Maya felt a flare of protective fire rise in her chest. She brushed a curl from Lily's forehead. "Did he yell at you?" Another small shake of the head. He grabbed me. Not hard, but he said I have to stop being scared. He said scared kids make bad families." The sentence hit Maya like cold water. Bad families. Earn your place. Be strong. Pieces of a puzzle she never wanted to see were falling together. "Come here," she whispered, wrapping her arms around Lily. The child clung to her, tiny fingers gripping the back of Maya's shirt. Maya held her for a long moment, trying to keep her own voice steady. Thunder growled again, shuddering through the entire kitchen. Lily flinched. "Hey," Maya murmured, stroking her back. "It's okay. I'm right here. You're safe with me." But even as she said it, she wasn't sure it was true. Lily looked up, her lip trembling. "Please don't make him mad." Maya froze. "What do you mean?" Lily swallowed. "If he sees I'm with you, he gets upset. He says you make me soft." The words landed hard. Soft, weak, bad. Every label Maya had ever been given as a child was now being wrapped around this little girl like invisible chains, and Gavin was tightening them. Maya's hand drifted again to her apron pocket. Her phone buzzed lightly from her grip, just a gentle tap, like fate nudging her shoulder. Lily didn't notice, but Gavin did. Heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway, slow, steady, the sound of someone who knew he owned every inch of ground he walked on. Maya stood, taking Lily's hand as Gavin entered the kitchen. He stopped in the doorway. His eyes went directly to the two of them. Lily clinging to Maya, Maya shielding her with her body. His jaw tightened. "What is this?" Gavin asked, his voice too calm, too smooth. "Why are you up, Lily?" Lily shrank behind Maya instantly. Maya squared her shoulders. She was scared of the storm. Gavin stepped closer. She needs to learn not to be. Maya felt Lily's fingers grip tighter. She gently pulled the girl behind her. "You don't toughen a child by frightening her," Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. Gavin let out a single, humorless laugh. You think I'm frightening her? You think that's what this is? He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the storm reflected in his eyes. Maya, he said softly, I've been patient with you. You are here to follow instructions, not to parent, not to question me. The phone in her pocket felt like a lifeline. Lily's terrified breathing shook against her arm, and Gavin's shadow loomed tall over both of them. Maya knew, deep in her bones, that she couldn't leave this house tonight without doing something. You're hurting her, Maya said quietly, even if you don't want to admit it. Gavin's face hardened. I am raising her. No, Maya whispered. You're breaking her. That did it. Gavin moved so fast she didn't even see his hand until he grabbed Lily's arm, not violently, but firmly, possessively. Come here, he ordered the child. Lily whimpered, and without thinking, without hesitation, Maya stepped between them, pushing Gavin's hand away. Everything stopped. Gavin froze, staring at her hand on his wrist like it was some kind of insult he couldn't comprehend. You touched me, he said softly. Maya's heart hammered. I'm protecting her. Gavin leaned in, voice cold enough to chill the air. You need to leave this house. Tonight. Lily gasped. No, she cried, grabbing Maya's waist. Don't go! Maya's fingers squeezed the phone inside her apron. This was it. The moment she had spent her life training herself to avoid, standing up to someone who had the power to crush her completely. I'm not leaving her alone, Maya said. Gavin straightened, adjusting his collar, trying to regain control. If you don't leave, you will regret it. Maya slowly pulled the phone from her apron. I already regret staying silent, she whispered. Gavin's eyes widened. Maya, he warned. She hit the screen, and with her voice shaking but certain, she said, 911. The words sliced through the kitchen like lightning. Lily gasped. Gavin's face twisted. The storm screamed against the glass, and Maya held the phone to her ear, refusing to look away from the man who thought fear could silence her. Because tonight, it wouldn't. For a heartbeat, the entire kitchen froze. No storm, no breath, no time. Just Maya, the phone pressed to her cheek, and Gavin Langford staring at her like she had just torn down the walls of his empire with her bare hands. The 911 operator answered, calm and steady. 911, what's your emergency? Maya's chest rose and fell in sharp, frightened breaths, but her voice was finally steady. My name is Maya Brooks, she said. I'm at 1134 Beverly Grove Lane. A child is in danger. Lily clung to her leg, trembling so hard Maya could feel her shaking through the fabric of her jeans. Gavin took one slow step toward her, then another. Maya backed away, pulling Lily with her, but she didn't break eye contact. She refused to. Not anymore. The operator continued. Ma'am, are you safe right now? Gavin's voice cut across the kitchen like a razor. Hang up the phone. Maya didn't blink. I'm safe, she said into the receiver. But the child isn't. Gavin lunged. Not with violence, no. Gavin wasn't foolish enough to leave marks. Instead, he reached for the phone with an open palm, the way someone might snatch a leaf from the air. Controlled. Cold. Certain. Maya spun away, clutching the phone to her chest. Please send someone, she said. She's 8 years old. She's scared. End the call, Gavin hissed, or you will regret it. The operator heard him. Officers are on the way, she said firmly. Stay on the line. The words slammed into Gavin like a brick wall. He stopped advancing. His nostrils flared, his jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jump along the edge of his cheek. Maya, he said, voice dropping low, almost pitying. You don't understand the damage you've done. Maya tightened her grip on Lily. The only damage here is what's happening to this child. Gavin straightened, smoothing his shirt, forcing calm back into his expression, like a man pulling on a mask. You think the police will take your word over mine? In this neighborhood? He spread his arms slightly, as if displaying the marble floors and crystal chandeliers. I built half this district. I fund their charities. I sponsor their events. I'm a Langford. Officers are en route, the operator repeated through the phone. Stay where you are. Gavin's eyes twitched. He didn't like being reminded that someone else was now listening. That's enough, he muttered. He turned and walked directly to the front door, yanking it open so hard the wind howled inside the house. Rain splattered across the marble. Let them come. Let them see who they're dealing with. He stepped outside into the storm, standing on the porch as lightning cracked open the sky behind him. For a moment, he Pumpum looked like a dark silhouette carved into the thunder. Then he called out, to someone unseen. His voice carried over the rain. Get the gate open, now! Maya felt Lily bury her face in her hip. It's okay, Maya whispered, though she wasn't sure. Just stay with me. She moved them both toward the far side of the kitchen, placing herself between the child and the doorway, every muscle in her body coiled tight. She stayed on the line until the operator said, I hear sirens approaching. Don't confront anyone. Officers will be at your door momentarily. And then, distant but unmistakable, the wail of a police siren threaded through the storm. Lily lifted her head. They're coming? Yes, honey, Maya whispered. Help is coming. The sirens grew louder. Gavin appeared again in the doorway, drenched from the downpour, his hair plastered to his forehead. But instead of fear, instead of panic, he was smiling, a slow, arrogant curl of his mouth, as if the police had come to collect her, not him. Maya's fingers tightened instinctively around her phone. Gavin stepped inside, shoes dripping onto the tile. Let's see, he murmured, how far your little act of defiance takes you. The blue and red lights finally splashed across the tall windows of the front hall, staining the walls with flickering color. Tires screeched as two cruisers stopped at the gate. The storm made their headlights shimmer on the wet pavement. Stay behind me, Maya whispered to Lily. Time seemed to slow. Bootsteps splashed through the rain outside. Radios crackled. The front door shook under 3 sharp, authoritative knocks. Police! Open up! Gavin wiped rain from his brow, composed himself, and walked to the door with the confidence of a man opening his front gate to a delivery driver, not law enforcement. He swung it open wide. Officers, he said smoothly, thank you for coming so quickly. The officers stood firm on the porch, rain pelting their uniforms. One of them held a clipboard. The other scanned the interior with sharp, assessing eyes. We received a call from this residence reporting a child in danger, the lead officer said. Gavin didn't miss a beat. A misunderstanding, he replied. My housekeeper has difficulty managing stress. I'm afraid she tends to exaggerate. The officer's gaze flicked toward Maya. Maya stepped forward. Lily clutched her hand, shaking harder than ever. Sir, the officer said carefully, does the child live here? Of course, Gavin said proudly. She's my daughter. Lily's small fingers dug into Maya's palm. The terror in her eyes was unmistakable, and the officer saw it. His expression changed. Maya Brooks, the officer said, you were the one who placed the emergency call. Yes, Maya said. Her voice trembled, but she didn't falter. And I stand by every word. This child is not safe. Gavin let out a quiet, dangerous laugh. Officer, I assure you, you assure us of nothing, the second officer cut in. Step aside. The temperature in the room dropped. Gavin froze where he stood, disbelief etched into every line of his face. Then, the officers crossed the threshold. Their boots dripped storm water onto the pristine marble. Their radios hummed. Their presence swallowed the room whole. Lily's breath hitched. The first officer knelt down. "Hi, sweetheart," he said gently. "Can you tell me your name?" Lily opened her mouth, looked at Gavin, closed it again. Maya felt her heart twist. The officer softened his voice. "It's okay. You're not in trouble. You're safe to talk to me." Lily trembled. I'm Lily." The other officer stepped closer. "Lily, can I ask, are you hurt anywhere?" She hesitated. Her eyes darted upward again, toward the man who stood frozen and furious in the doorway. Then she whispered, "Yes." The officer's jaw tightened. Behind them, lightning split the sky open. Gavin exhaled sharply, losing his composure. "This is ridiculous." "Sir," the lead officer said, voice firm, "put your hands where I can see them." Gavin's expression twisted. Shock, disbelief, insult, rage layered one atop the other. "You can't be serious," he growled. "Do you know who I am?" The officer didn't blink. "Hands, now." Maya held Lily close, her heart thundering. Fear, relief, adrenaline mixing into something she had never felt before. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, another one finally broke. And for the first time, the truth inside this house was no longer silent. It was echoing across every marble tile, and the sound of approaching justice had never been louder. The storm raged outside like the sky itself was determined to wash the house clean. Police radios crackled. Officers stood firm, their boots dripping rainwater onto the polished marble. Gavin, furious and drenched, hovered on the edge of control like a man trying to keep a dam from bursting. And then, the front door swung fully open. A woman in a slate-gray business coat stepped inside, wind whipping her hair across her face. She pushed the door closed hard, sealing out the storm. Her heels clicked sharply on the marble. Sharp, precise, confident. Rebecca Langford, the wife, the mother, the woman Gavin assumed would never come home without warning. Maya felt Lily jolt upright against her. "Mom?" Rebecca's eyes, an intense green framed by exhaustion, landed immediately on the little girl. She took 2 steps forward before she even seemed to register the police presence. "Lily?" she whispered. "Honey, why are you awake? What?" Then she saw it. The bruise, dark, fading, but undeniable, stretching along her daughter's upper arm like an ugly shadow. Rebecca froze mid-step. Her briefcase slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a thud that echoed through the room. "Oh my God," she breathed. What happened to you?" Lily's lip trembled. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her eyes, those big, scared eyes, told the whole story. Rebecca turned to Gavin, and the transformation in her face was immediate. "Gavin!" Her voice shook, not with fear, but with something colder. "What did you do?" Gavin straightened, trying to regain that icy command he always carried. "Rebecca, you're overreacting." Rebecca stepped closer, examining the mark with trembling hands. "This isn't a fall. This isn't an accident." "It's nothing," Gavin snapped. "Kids bruise. She bruises. She's clumsy. You know that." Rebecca turned slowly, dangerously, toward him. "Clumsy doesn't explain why a police team is in my foyer." Her tone could have cut through steel. Gavin's jaw twitched. "Your employee," he hissed, jerking his head at Maya, "made an irresponsible call. She saved her," Rebecca whispered, staring at Maya now, really looking at her for the first time. Maya swallowed hard, the phone still clutched in her hand. "I couldn't ignore it anymore," she said softly. Rebecca's gaze softened for a heartbeat. Then she turned back to her husband. "I've been gone 3 days, Gavin. 3." Her voice cracked. "And my daughter is trembling like she's in danger in her own home." Gavin stepped toward her. "Rebecca, don't do this. Don't turn this into something," the lead officer interrupted. "Ma'am, your daughter indicated she is hurt. We need to document her injuries." Rebecca looked at him and nodded, without hesitation. "Do whatever you need." That was when Gavin's carefully constructed patience snapped. "She's my daughter," he barked. "I won't have you treating me like some criminal." "No one is treating you like anything," the officer said calmly. "We're following protocol." Rebecca cut in sharply. "Protocol wouldn't be necessary if she wasn't scared of you." The room fell silent. Gavin stared at her, shocked, betrayed, as if the ground beneath him was shifting without his permission. "You're siding with her?" he demanded, motioning toward Maya. Maid?" Maya felt that word like a slap, but she didn't flinch. She'd been called worse by men with half Gavin's power and twice his cruelty. Rebecca stepped between them, her voice terrifyingly quiet. "I'm siding with my daughter." Lightning cracked the sky again, illuminating the fury building in Gavin's eyes. "You're being manipulated," he said, almost pleading. "You know Lily exaggerates. She cries at everything. The bruise happened when she..." "When she what, Gavin?" Rebecca asked sharply. "When she failed again. When she didn't meet your impossible standards." His face paled. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Rebecca said. "I understand why she calls me at night just to hear my voice. I understand why she stopped drawing. Why she's scared to make noise." Gavin's throat bobbed. "I understand," Rebecca finished. "Why she started hiding when she heard your car." Lily pressed her face into Maya's hip again, as if trying to disappear. That was the moment everything shattered. The mask Gavin wore, cold, polished, powerful, cracked right down the middle. "Rebecca," he said softly, "I'm her father." Rebecca's voice broke. "Then why does she look at you like she's prey?" Silence. Thick. Unforgiving. The second officer approached slowly. "Sir," he said, "we need you to step back. We need to speak with your wife and the child separately." Gavin snapped. "You're not taking them anywhere." Rebecca straightened, her eyes finally filling with something she'd held back for years. Grief. "You already did," she said quietly. "Piece by piece." Gavin looked around desperately, at the officers, at Rebecca, at Lily, and his eyes landed on Maya. "You," he spat. "This is your fault." Maya didn't look away. "I did what she needed." Gavin's voice rose. "You think this will end well for you? You think you can break apart my family and walk away untouched?" Rebecca stepped in front of Maya. "You broke this family," she said, "and I won't let you break anyone else." Gavin's breath hitched. The officers closed in. "Sir," the lead officer warned, "this is your last chance to comply." And Gavin made the worst mistake he could have in that moment. He opened his mouth and said the sentence that sealed his fate. "She's weak. I'm trying to make her strong." The officers stared at him. Rebecca covered her mouth. Lily whimpered, and Maya felt her entire body go cold. Gavin didn't realize what he'd just confessed, but everyone else did, including the law. The officer stepped forward. "Sir, put your hands behind your back." Gavin's eyes widened, caught between disbelief and rage. "You can't arrest me. You just gave us probable cause. the officer said. Do it, now. And for the first time since Maya stepped foot in this house, Gavin Langford had no power left to use, no threats, no money, no mask, only the truth. And the truth finally had witnesses. The air inside the Langford mansion felt heavier than the storm outside. For a long moment, no one moved. The officers stood rooted in place. Rebecca looked like someone had just cut the ground out from beneath her. Lily clung to Maya's shirt with trembling fingers. And Gavin looked shocked that the words he'd spoken had actually come out of his own mouth. I was trying to make her strong, he repeated, almost whispering now, as though somehow softening the tone would soften the damage. But it didn't. What he said settled over the room like a dark cloud. Officer Martinez, the younger of the two, stepped forward, her face granite still. She wasn't looking at Maya. She wasn't looking at Rebecca. She was looking straight at Gavin, as though she were finally seeing the man behind the expensive suit. Sir, she said, you're admitting that you've been making a child lift heavy objects. Gavin blinked, confused, like he couldn't understand why she wasn't nodding along in approval. He stammered, I was teaching her. Discipline, responsibility. Kids coddled these days grow up soft, weak. Lily needed safety. Rebecca cut in, her voice breaking. She needed a father who would protect her, not test her. Lily sniffled against Maya's hip. The sound broke something in Maya all over again. She gently ran her hand over the little girl's hair, wishing she could erase everything she had been forced to endure. Officer Martinez crouched in front of Lily again. Sweetheart, she said gently, is it true? Did your dad make you carry heavy boxes? You're not in trouble. No one is mad at you. Lily shook, once, twice, and finally whispered, yes. Rebecca covered her mouth, the sob escaping before she could stop it. Gavin took a step forward. Lily, don't you dare! Rebecca snapped, her voice the sharpest blade in the room. Gavin froze. It wasn't like that, he insisted desperately. She had to learn. I told her to tell you she fell. I told her. You told her what? Officer Martinez asked. Gavin swallowed hard. That she belonged here only if she earned it. Maya felt her knees weaken. Rebecca felt her heart cave in. And Lily looked down at her shoes. Small, quiet, like she was trying to shrink herself out of existence. Sir, put your hands behind your back, the officer repeated. No. Gavin shook his head. No, no, no. You're twisting this. You're twisting my words. I'm not the villain here. He pointed directly at Maya. She put this idea in your heads. She's manipulating all of you. She wants money. She wants a sob story. People like her. Everyone turned to him at once. Even he knew he had gone too far. People like her? Rebecca repeated slowly. People like her? Gavin swallowed. That's not... I didn't mean... Yes, you did, Maya whispered quietly. She wasn't shaking anymore. She wasn't scared. Not of him. Not tonight. I'm not the one your daughter hides from, she said. I'm not the one who made her cry herself to sleep. That was you. That was when something broke inside Gavin. Not the mask, not the pretense, something deeper. I provided for her, he said, voice raw. All of this. He gestured helplessly around the mansion. I gave her more than she deserves. Rebecca's voice rose like a storm. She didn't need any of this. She needed someone to love her. The room shook with her words. Even the officers paused. Then Lily, tiny, shaking Lily, lifted her head. Daddy, she whispered, you said I wasn't... Really yours? The silence was a living thing, heavy, crushing. Gavin's voice cracked. Lily, you said Mommy only loves you, she said, tears forming. You said, if I told her, you'd send me away. Maya felt her throat close. Rebecca staggered backward as though someone had hit her. You said that to her? She whispered. You told our child you'd send her away? She's not my child, Gavin exploded. I didn't want her. You forced. The officers stepped in immediately. That's enough, Officer Martinez said sharply. Sir, turn around. No, Gavin barked. Rebecca, tell them I'm not, tell them. Rebecca wiped her tears, her voice cold and steady now. I believed in you, she said quietly. I believed in you more than you deserved. And you destroyed our daughter because you could not destroy your own ego. Gavin's face twisted. Rebecca, you can't let them arrest me. Think about the company. Think about your position. Think about what the board will I'm thinking about my daughter, she whispered, for the first time in years. The older officer stepped behind Gavin, lifting his wrists. You have the right to remain silent. The metallic click of the cuffs echoed off the marble, louder than the thunder outside. Lily jumped at the sound and buried her face back into Maya. Maya held her, steady and warm, her own eyes stinging. Gavin tried one last time. You don't understand, he yelled as they pulled him toward the door. My money, my lawyers, they'll fix this. I'll be out before sunrise. Rebecca looked him dead in the eye. No amount of money will fix what you did. The officers led him into the foyer, the storm wind filling the space behind him like a final judgment. For the first time since Maya entered this house, it felt like someone had opened a window, like air could finally move. Lily lifted her head, her voice small but filled with something new, something like relief. Maya, am I still in trouble? Maya knelt beside her, smoothing her hair. No, baby, she said softly. You're safe now. Rebecca approached them, her shoulders shaking. She knelt beside them both, pulling Lily gently into her arms. I'm here, she whispered. I promise. I'm here now. Lily closed her eyes and let herself fall into the comfort she'd been denied for so long. Outside, the rain began to ease. Inside, something began to heal. But what none of them knew, not yet, was that this night would change all their lives in ways no one could have predicted. Not just with justice, but with a twist none of them saw coming, and for the first time, Maya felt hope beginning to rise. It glimmered faintly, like a single streetlight flickering on at dusk. Fragile, soft, a light she didn't trust yet, but it was there all the same. As Gavin's shouts faded down the hallway, swallowed by the storm outside, the mansion seemed to exhale. The air loosened. The marble didn't feel as cold. The heavy silence that always lived within these walls began to crack. Maya rose slowly, keeping Lily tucked against her hip. The little girl trembled, small shakes that came from deep inside, the kind that didn't stop just because danger was gone. Trauma had its own timing. Rebecca stood before them, wiping at her cheeks. Her breath shook as she reached for Lily again, unsure, scared she would break the child further just by touching her. Sweetheart, she whispered, let's get you warm. Let's get you somewhere safe. Lily nodded, but she didn't let go of Maya's shirt. Her fingers remained curled there tight, refusing to loosen. Rebecca's chest tightened as she watched. There was a kind of pain in her eyes that Maya recognized instantly. The pain of a parent realizing they'd missed something they should have seen, something they should have protected. You can hold on to both of us, Rebecca said softly, placing a steadying hand on Lily's back. Maya shifted so Lily could be between them. The child clung tighter. A soft knock echoed from the open doorway. The older officer stepped closer, his voice gentle but professional. "Ma'am, the ambulance is here. We'd like to take your daughter to be examined. It's standard procedure in cases like this." Rebecca nodded quickly, tears returning. Yes, of course." Maya looked into Lily's eyes. "We'll be right there with you, okay?" Lily swallowed, her voice barely a whisper. "Will it hurt?" "Not more than you already hurt," Maya said softly. "And they're here to make you better. That's their whole job." Lily nodded again, a tiny, trembling nod. As they walked toward the foyer, the storm wind pushed cold air into the house. Rain spattered across the marble as officers escorted Gavin toward a squad car outside. He was still shouting, his voice hoarse. "You're all making a mistake! I'll sue every one of you! I'll be out tonight!" But there was something different now. No one listened. Not the officers. Not the neighbors gathering under umbrellas. Not even the storm. His voice didn't command anything anymore. Rebecca paused at the doorway, watching the police guide him down the steps. "This isn't who I married," she whispered. Maya glanced at her. Maybe it is. Maybe he just never had a reason to show it. Rebecca didn't respond. She stared at her husband, the man she once loved, being placed in the back of a police cruiser, his suit soaked, his hair clinging to his forehead, his eyes wild. For a moment, his gaze locked onto hers. "You think you're safe without me?" he shouted through the storm. "Watch what happens next." The door slammed shut before he could finish. The police car pulled away, red and blue lights reflecting off the wet pavement. Rebecca stood motionless, until Lily tugged her sleeve. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice shaky. "Can we go now?" That broke the spell. Rebecca turned and knelt, her hands cupping her daughter's face. "Yes, baby, we're leaving." Two paramedics approached, a man in his late 40s and a young woman with warm brown skin who smiled gently at Lily. "We're going to take good care of you," the woman said. "What's your name?" Lily hesitated, then whispered, "Lily." "Well, Lily," the paramedic replied, "you're in good hands tonight." They ushered her toward the ambulance. But before Lily stepped up, she turned and reached again for Maya's hand. "Maya, will you stay?" The question hit Maya like a blow straight to the heart, because the child wasn't asking politely. She was begging not to be abandoned again. Rebecca looked at Maya, her expression softening in a grateful, pleading way that words couldn't quite capture. Maya squeezed Lily's small hand. "Of course I'll stay." Lily's shoulders loosened just a little. Inside the ambulance, the interior lights cast a warm yellow glow, a small calm against the storm still pounding outside. Maya sat at Lily's side while Rebecca held the girl's other hand. The paramedic gently examined the visible bruises, documenting them with a quiet professionalism that never once made Lily feel like an object or a case file. Rebecca's tears slipped down her cheeks silently as she watched the damage she hadn't known about. Damage she wished she could take for her daughter. At one point, Lily flinched when the paramedic touched a spot on her back. Maya instinctively placed a hand on the girl's arm, soft, steady, grounding. "It's okay, honey," Maya whispered. "I'm right here." Rebecca whispered the same words, almost at the same time. Lily looked between them, and for the first time since this nightmare had begun, she let out a shaky breath that wasn't from fear. Outside, the storm began to weaken. The thunder drifted farther away. The rain softened into a steady, soothing rhythm. The paramedic finished his initial exam. "We'll take her to UCLA Medical Center," She'll be seen right away." "Thank you," Rebecca whispered. The ambulance engine rumbled to life. Maya sat near the back, her hand still wrapped safely in Lily's. The child's breathing slowed, not calm yet, but closer, closer than she had been in months. Rebecca looked at Maya, really looked at her, and said words Maya had never expected to hear in her entire life. "You saved my daughter tonight." Maya shook her head gently. "I just couldn't ignore her anymore." Rebecca's voice softened. "I wish I had seen what you saw. I wish I had been here." Lily's eyes fluttered closed as she leaned into both of them, needing them equally. And in the warm hum of the ambulance, lit by soft yellow lights and cradling the quiet breath of a child finally freed, something invisible shifted. Between the three of them, between what they had been and what they were becoming. Family wasn't always blood. Sometimes it was the people who refused to leave when the world fell apart. And Maya didn't realize yet just how much this one night would change her life. But she felt it. Faint, rising. That small hope again, growing stronger. It sat in Maya's chest like a shy bird, fluttering, nervous, unsure if it was welcomed. But as the ambulance sliced through the quiet Los Angeles streets, leaving the storm behind them, that hope began to stretch its wings. Lily lay on the gurney between Maya and Rebecca, the steady beep of the heart monitor filling the small space. The girl's hand was wrapped around Maya's fingers as though they were the only thing keeping her tethered. "She's going to be okay," the paramedic murmured from the front, glancing back. "We'll run scans, get her checked by pediatrics, but she's stable." Rebecca exhaled through trembling lips. "Thank you." Maya could see the guilt clinging to her face, the guilt of a mother who didn't see what she needed to see, who had trusted the wrong person, who had been too busy, too distant, too away. It reminded Maya of something she'd thought she'd forgotten. Her own mother whispering sorry through the thin walls of their South LA apartment, working double shifts, never sleeping, always loving, but always gone. The ambulance pulled into UCLA Medical Center. Nurses moved quickly, guiding them through bright, sterile hallways. The scent of disinfectant filled the air, sharp and cold. Lily looked around, clutching both women's hands now. "You're okay, sweetheart," Rebecca whispered. "We're right here." A doctor examined Lily gently, carefully. Rebecca stayed close, asking questions through tears. Maya lingered behind them, hands clasped tightly together, not wanting to intrude, but unable to leave. Hours passed. The storm had stopped. The rainwater dried from their clothes. The night turned deep and quiet. Finally, the doctor returned with a clipboard pressed to his chest. "She's going to be fine," he said. "No internal injuries, just bruising. Extensive but treatable." Rebecca let out a sob that shook her entire body. She covered her mouth, her shoulders trembling. "Thank God. Thank—" Her voice cracked, and she folded forward, as though the weight holding her together had finally been lifted. The doctor continued, "She will need rest, and she'll need emotional support over the next few weeks." Rebecca nodded again and again, tears streaming. Maya felt her throat tighten. She didn't know what to do with her hands. She'd never been good at receiving gratitude. She'd only ever learned how to endure. Then Lily reached for her. "Oh, Maya," she whispered, "come sit by me." The doctor stepped aside. Rebecca looked up, eyes red and exhausted, and gave Maya a small nod, an invitation. Maya approached the bed. Lily shifted, making room. Maya sat gently on the edge, brushing the girl's curls back from her forehead. "You're real brave, you know that?" she whispered softly. Lily shook her head. "I was scared." "Being scared and still speaking up," Maya said. "That's brave." Rebecca wiped her eyes again. I don't think I've ever heard her open up like that. Not even with me. Maya glanced at Rebecca, unsure how to respond. She didn't want to step into a place that wasn't hers. But Rebecca stepped closer and placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. You gave her something I didn't, she whispered. Safety. Those words nearly knocked the breath out of Maya. She'd spent her whole life trying to be invisible, trying not to take up too much space, trying not to be the one people blamed or looked down on. She never imagined she could be the person someone ran toward. Rebecca wiped her cheeks and straightened her posture, as though making a decision that had been forming inside her since the police arrived. I can't take her back to that house, she said, voice low, firm. I won't. Maya nodded. You shouldn't. All that money, Rebecca whispered. All that luxury. I thought it meant something. I thought it made us safe. Maya stared at her gently. Sometimes a big house just hides the hurt better. Rebecca pressed her lips together, eyes glistening. I won't hide anything ever again, she said. I'm done with that life. I'm done pretending. She looked at Lily. I'm choosing her, whatever it costs. Maya felt something warm settle in her chest. Rebecca took a deep breath, as though steadying herself before walking onto a new path. I've been looking at apartments in Westwood, she said. Small ones, safe ones, places where she can hear kids playing outside, places where she can sleep without fear. She hesitated, then continued softly, almost shyly. And I want you there too, Maya. Not as help, not as an employee. She swallowed. As family. Maya blinked. Rebecca, I don't. You've been her anchor, Rebecca said. Mine too. You don't even know what you did tonight. Maya shook her head slowly. I just did what was right. And that's exactly why I need you with us, Rebecca said, voice trembling. If you're willing. Lily sat up a little, reaching for Maya's arm. Please stay, she whispered. The words struck Maya in a place she had buried years ago, the place where she had once hoped someone would ask her to stay instead of leave. Her breath shook. She nodded. I'll stay, she whispered. Relief washed over Lily's face. Rebecca let out a breath that sounded like gratitude and heartbreak woven together. The night deepened outside the hospital window. The storm had passed, and inside that small, softly lit room, a new beginning formed. Quiet, tender, unexpected. It didn't fix everything, but it was a place to start. And sometimes, that was the miracle people waited a lifetime for. Morning sunlight filtered through the hospital blinds, soft and golden, brushing Lily's face with warmth. She stirred gently, still holding Maya's hand even in her sleep. Rebecca sat in a chair at the foot of the bed, her eyes tired but softer than they had been in years. The world felt different now, quieter, safer, like the storm had washed away everything false and left only what mattered. When Lily finally woke, blinking slowly, the first thing she asked was, "Can we go home?" Rebecca hesitated. "We're not going back to the big house, sweetheart." Lily pressed her cheek into Maya's arm. "Good." Maya's heart clenched. That's such a tiny word. Good held so much pain behind it. A knock sounded on the door. A tall man in a navy suit stepped inside, holding a leather folder. His silver tie glinted in the morning light. "Mrs. Langford?" he said politely. "I'm Daniel Marsh, your corporate attorney." Rebecca stood, confused. "I didn't call anyone." "You didn't have to," Daniel said. "Your husband did." At the word husband, Lily flinched. Maya wrapped an arm around her automatically. Rebecca saw the flinch, the automatic comfort, and her jaw tightened. "Why is he sending lawyers already?" she asked. "I thought—" Daniel raised a hand, calming. I'm actually not here on his behalf. A beat. Then, I'm here on yours. Rebecca blinked. Mine? Daniel opened the folder. Mrs. Langford, 6 months ago, Gavin transferred full ownership of Langford Tech into your name. The room froze. Maya's breath caught. Rebecca's eyes widened. Even Lily looked up, sensing something big had shifted. What? Rebecca whispered. Signed it over, Daniel said. Completely. Irrevocably. He no longer owns a single share. Maya stared at him. Why would he do that? Daniel exhaled. A series of bad investments, some debts he wanted to hide, and he hesitated. He wanted to shield the company in case his behavior ever threatened the brand. Rebecca sank into the nearest chair. He knew, she whispered. He knew what he was capable of and protected the company, not us. Maya felt a chill crawl up her spine. Daniel continued, As of this moment, Rebecca, you are the sole owner and CEO of Langford Tech. The words hung in the air like a revelation splashed across the sky. Not Gavin's power, not his wealth, not his influence, Rebecca's. Lily touched her mother's arm. Are we rich now? Rebecca laughed softly, tears filling her eyes. Baby, we always had more than we needed. We just didn't have peace. Daniel closed the folder. Whatever life you choose next, you have the resources to rebuild it safely. Rebecca nodded, wiping her cheeks. Thank you. Daniel left them to their quiet. Lily looked between the two women. Mommy? Does this mean we can get the apartment? Rebecca smiled. Yes, today. Lily's eyes lit with something Maya hadn't seen in months. A spark. And Maya's coming too, right? Rebecca turned to her. If she wants. Maya looked at the child leaning into her side, trusting her, needing her. Then she looked at Rebecca, strong, determined, willing to leave everything for her daughter. And somehow the answer was already inside her. Yes, Maya whispered. I'll come. Lily grinned, wide and glowing, the kind of smile that made the whole room brighter, as though someone finally flipped the lights back on inside her. By afternoon, discharge papers were signed. They stepped out of the hospital together, walking beneath fresh blue skies that felt almost unreal after the storm. A black SUV pulled up, the company car Rebecca still technically owned. The driver, startled to see her, scrambled out. Mrs. Langford, where to? Westwood, she said. The new apartment complex on Hillgard. He blinked. Not the mansion, ma'am. Rebecca shook her head. That isn't home anymore. Lily squeezed Maya's hand. Home is where people don't yell. Maya felt a lump rise in her throat. They drove through Los Angeles, past palm trees swaying gently, past crowded bus stops and quiet neighborhoods. The world outside looked normal, unchanged. But inside that SUV, 3 lives were quietly stitching themselves back together. When they reached the new apartment, a modest, modern building with kids riding scooters on the sidewalk, Lily gasped. There's noise, she said. Happy noise. Rebecca smiled. Better than quiet halls, huh? They stepped into their new space. Sunlight poured across wooden floors. The rooms were small but warm, human, real. Maya carried Lily's hospital bag into the bedroom. Lily followed her, bouncing a little. There's a window, she exclaimed. I can see trees. Maya laughed softly. Guess we'll have to buy some crayons, huh? Lily stopped, turned, lifted her head. Maya, she whispered, do you think I can draw butterflies again? Maya knelt, her eyes warm. You can draw anything you want, baby. Rebecca stood in the doorway, tears streaming silently. She approached with something in her hand, a small envelope. "Maya," she whispered, offering it. "I need you to read this." Confused, Maya opened the envelope. Inside was a printed document with the Langford Tech logo. Her name was on it. Maya Brooks, Executive Director, Langford Child Advocacy Initiative. She looked up sharply. "Rebecca, what is this?" "A new program," Rebecca said, voice shaking with sincerity. "A foundation to protect children who don't have a voice. Funded by the company. Built because of my daughter." She stepped closer. "And led by the woman who saved her." Maya froze. I can't. Rebecca, I'm not qualified." "You are," Rebecca insisted. "Not because of a degree, not because of a resume, but because you have the heart that this world is missing." Lily wrapped her arms around Maya. "Please say yes." Maya looked at the papers in her hand, at Lily's hopeful face, at Rebecca's trembling smile. All her life, Maya had been told she didn't belong in rooms like this, didn't deserve opportunities like this, didn't fit the mold of success. But here, in this small apartment filled with sunlight and second chances, she belonged. She finally belonged. Maya pressed a hand to her mouth, her vision blurring. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll do it." Lily squealed with joy, jumping into her arms. Rebecca laughed through tears, and as the three of them stood there, mother, daughter, and the woman who saved them both, the apartment felt full. Full of warmth, full of future, full of a new life beginning. That evening, as the sun set behind the westwood skyline, Lily sat at the little kitchen table with a fresh box of crayons. She picked a bright blue one, her favorite, and with careful, steady strokes, she drew a butterfly. A small, imperfect, beautiful butterfly. A symbol of everything she had survived. Everything she was becoming. Everything they all were. Maya watched from across the table, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. "Look," Lily whispered, holding up the drawing. "It's flying." Maya cupped the girl's cheek gently. "So are we, baby," she murmured. "So are we." Outside, the world went quiet again, but this time, in peace. Not fear, not silence. Peace. And in that soft evening glow, Maya finally understood. Saving someone else had saved her too. And this little family built out of courage, kindness, and a truth no one could silence, was the home she had been waiting for. Her miracle, her beginning, her butterfly. If this story touched your heart even a little, drop a simple comment below, a 0, a 1, or even just an emoji. Your small reaction helps these stories reach someone who might need them tonight. And if you want to stay with us for more true-to-life stories of courage, healing, and unexpected miracles, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We've got so many more journeys to share with you, and I'd be honored to have you with us for the next one.